All right, so I bought this case maybe 2, 3 months ago, and when I was doing my Ryzen build, um, I went with a Thermaltake MATX case, and I went to return this one, and I missed the return deadline, so they had to ship it to me, and I had to ship it back. And procrastination. Long story short, I am now the proud owner of this case because, well, I forgot to ship it back, but whatever. It is what it is. So as I started messing around with this case and looking at it, it started growing on me, and I decided, you know what? I think I'm going to move my Ryzen build to this case, and we'll talk about why I'm deciding to do that, and also just give my review on this case. So let's talk about this case. So this is the Corsair 4000D. This was released in September 2020, and when it released, it was actually about 80 bucks. Now it's 90 to 120, and depending on if they have it in stock or who's selling it, it could probably be a lot more. But welcome to the new computer world. So let's talk about the front. Now the front has a solid steel front panel. I don't know if that comes on the camera, but it got a nice little ding to it. And the cool thing about this front panel is, and let's go ahead and move this over here, is that this thing comes out really stinking easy. And as you can see, it came out. And if you look at it, we have a nice mesh over here, which pops out real easy, just pushing down on this lever. And we have access to our fans and everything. And this is a lot easier to clean out. So I definitely do like the convenience factor of it. It just has little magnets over here and the little dowels to kind of hold it in place. So we can easily pop this back in and put this back together. Now they do make another variant of it, which is the Airflow 4000D Airflow, which has the little holes and perforation of it. I wasn't a big fan of that design, or not the design, but the look, and that's why I didn't buy it. I just kind of like this one. That one's gonna get you better airflow than this one, but let's talk about why Corsair is, I guess, talking about big on airflow, in my opinion on it. One thing I do like about it is if you look right over here, let's see if we get that in the camera, you have this angle over here, and these angles that when you put this in, snaps in real easy. When you put this in, you have all this right over here that angles the airflow. So it's actually sucking in the air this way, pushing in air that way. So you have it on this side over here, and you have it on this side right over here. And also the front aesthetic actually looks pretty good. It's very clean, and I think it has an inviting look to it, in my opinion. So the top of our case consists of our USB 3.0, USB 3.1 Type-C. We have the, I guess, the dual purpose audio jack over here for mic and headphones, which like NZXT does it in their case, and they have the splitter, but they don't come with the splitter over here. So I guess that's one thing NZXT did do better than this, is that they give you the splitter, but it is what it is on that. Our power button's nice and clicky, very easy. And even though the reset button over here is right there, I mean, you have to give it a good click, so you don't have to worry about accidentally resetting your computer if you just put something on top of it. So that's something convenient to consider. Now, our screen, our airflow screen over here, as you can see, good visibility, you can see right through it to it. So I don't see too much restriction going as far as that. We put a 280 or 240 millimeter fan over here, and because of the sizing, it offsets right over here. So I don't think you should be able to run into any memory clearances right over here, like some cases that are a little thinner, where you have taller memory and it kind of bumps into the AIO. So I think that's going to be fine over here, but I don't have an AIO. But I would imagine, because I've used smaller cases like Fractal's Meshify C, where because it is thinner, you do run into the issue of clearance with memory. So that's the top. And if you notice, I guess Corsair is proud of their color, because you have this yellow right over here and this yellow for the USB. So I guess that's just one aesthetic to consider when you're buying this case. Now the interior, you could put up to 6 120s or 4 140s over here, so you have provisions for that. On the side over here, you could put your 240, 280, and a 360, which will go into the bottom right over here. It does come with these two fans over here, which I'm not a fan of. Get it, fan? But I'm not a fan of them because they're 3-pin, and I prefer having the PWN versus the 3-pin for that. I just like having more of that control over here. The channel over here, let's see if we could do that right over here. The channel right over here is where your cables will come out through, so it kind of cleans it up, and that way you don't see any clutter going on in the back over here. And if you look on the bottom right over here, don't know how well that comes in, I'll try to zoom it in, but if you look on the bottom over here, Corsair is very proud of that yellow, and you have a little yellow accent mark over here. So that's pretty much the interior of it. Now the power supply basement, which I do like compared to some of their older cases, it's sealed over here, so you don't have to worry about advertisement or branding. I'm not big on that one. And also it has ventilation over here, which is simple, and it's closed off in the front right over here, which I do like. I know some of their older cases, like the the crystal glass ones or whatever, the power supply shroud came up to right over here, and tucking your cables was just not fun or anything like that. So let's go ahead, let's take a look at the back of the case. Now the back of the case, one thing that they did advertise big on is the 25mm clearance for tucking in cables, which I do see that there is a nice gap over here, so you can tuck your cables away nice and clean. The straps over here to hold it in, and it also has the channels for the cables to be managed through. We'll see how this works. I've actually had experiences where they don't kind of train themselves well, or the cables just kind of get all cattywampus on it. So hopefully it will work. I will be using a Corsair power supply for this, so that maybe that makes a big difference on that. Hardware is tucked in the bottom right over here, and let's see what kind of hardware it comes with. More straps, wire ties, extra screws, which is good for the fans and all that stuff. And right over here, just, I guess, more cables to plug into the motherboard, and that's about it. Now you can put in two 3.5-inch or two 2.5-inch drives, or just kind of do some type of wonky combination over here. These are capture screws, which I do like about this. And one thing I do want to try out, which they boast upon, which I guess this would be good if you have an RGB SSD, is that if you wanted to, and maybe I'll do it with this, you could take your SSD, pop them in right over here. They go screwed in, and now you can have your SSDs up front. So I guess if you had the RGB, like the Trident, or I don't know, whatever company does it, but you can have your SSDs sitting right over here. It'll look clean, it'll look nice. So, all right, so let's go ahead. Let's pop a computer in here. We'll talk about the build, things I like, things I didn't like about it, and we'll see what the style that we'll go for with. All right, so build is complete, and I definitely gotta say I'm happy with this case. I really enjoyed this case and building in it. Now the cable channel on the back, typically I have found in some cases, and even Corsair's older cases, is that they're too small and they're very flat, and there's not enough room to really sit down the cables and just get them away where you don't have any issues closing on the back panel. The straps were great. It was a pretty decent design, and I was able to get all the cables in nice and smooth, cleanly, and route all the wires the way I like for cable management. The front, the one thing I liked about the front is installing the fans are a cinch. I mean, this thing pops off, you pull off the filter, you have access to the fans right over here, put the 4 screws in, run the wires to the side. Very simple, very easy. One thing I did have to do was I needed to go ahead and I chose to do, I didn't have to do, but I actually took the hard drive caddy over here and I moved it forward. They give you provisions to move it forward, and what that allows me to do is that allows me to just tuck all my cables in over here, and if I ever decide to run some cable mod cables or anything like that, I have plenty of room for the extensions to kind of lay over in here and not be so tight. On the drawback, if I ever decide to put an AIO, which I won't, a 360 AIO, you have to move it over and it just gets a little tight, but that's fine. That's a decent trade-off. I put two 140s in the front, two 120s on the top, and then you got your 120 over here. Corsair comes with these fans over here. This is some new design type fans that they do, but I'm not a fan of it. And Nothing against it. I mean, I like to put all the same type of fans over here. So what I did was I just went with Be Quiet, and I just put all Be Quiet fans in here. They're a lot quieter, they blow good airflow, and they're very good at running at low noise, low RPMs, and I never had temperature issues, but I think with more fans that I have in here, temperature should be a lot better. Also, no more RGB. I got rid of the RGB on my memory over here, turned it off on the graphics card, because the way my computer sits, it sits right over here against the wall, and you really can't see the whole RGB goodness of it. So it makes no sense for me to have RGB. I just went ahead and turned everything off. Don't need no RGB fans or anything like that. In the previous build I had blue fans over here and some other multi fans over here. Yeah, I'm good with it. I don't need the RGB. I've grown and moved on. One reason that I did like this case, and why I'm glad I went with this case, is eventually I am going to upgrade my RTX 2080 to some new type of video card, if they ever come in stock, hopefully. And this gives me provisions up to a 360mm graphics card over here. And even if I put a AIO, which I won't, I still have room to accommodate some of the larger graphics cards, because the larger 3000 series are a lot bigger than the 2000 series. So I do have plenty of room right over here. The channel over here on the side is pretty awesome, hides all the cables, and as you can see, all you see is the cables sticking out that go plugged in, and everything is nice and clean and looks good. So I definitely enjoyed this case. It was pretty awesome. One thing I will say I don't like about this case is yellow. Really, I mean, I got this nice clean black and even gray look going, and I got yellow over here, yellow up here, and they put a little yellow marker over there. So I don't get it. I mean, it is what it is, but I'll take it for the fact that this case is very convenient. I do like it. I did enjoy it. And also, graphics cards, yeah, you can put a vertical mount for the graphics card over here, but in my opinion, it's going to come too close to the glass. This is a 2.5. I think my Strix is 2.5, and it's going to be sitting right against the glass, and we're going to restrict the airflow, and I'm not about that. I'm about performance. So definitely comment down below. Let me know what you think of this case. Do you like it? Would you use it? Have you bought the airflow version of this? I personally think that Corsair has definitely stepped up with this case, and they did a pretty good job. I do enjoy it. It's going to be my go-to. If you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe if you're not, and as always, we'll see what we come up with next.